All right, we're almost live. We are almost there. Notice that camera is a little bit on the low side. All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. If you're looking at this at a future date, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please hit that like button. Lets me know that you are wanting to see more content. We're trying to get more content out, and we have a lot more exciting content kind of on the schedule. We have more things coming for the rig, and this is one of them. This device here, if you're not familiar with VR or Windows Mixed Reality, this is the Samsung ODYSSEY. Now, I know in the very beginning when it was announced that we said we were going to be getting that HTC Vive Pro. I know we said that time and time and again. We were going to pre-order that HTC Vive Pro, but the problem is HTC Vive Pro came in at $800. I know it was rumored at $349, but no one exactly knew what it would cost, but it came in at $800, and that is just way too much. So our goal with sim racing, of course, is we want better resolution, and the Samsung ODYSSEY, if you do any research, you'll find out the ODYSSEY has the same panel that the Vive Pro is going to have, and it works now on Steam, and a lot of the kinks seem to be worked out. So I figured let's give it a shot. Let's see how it works. So let's get to that intro sequence, and then we'll get moving.
Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
All right, everyone. So this is the Samsung ODYSSEY, and we have the Vive. Actually, let's see if we could get this around my mic stand without knocking it over. This is our Vive. We do have, that gel cover on it, and it's technically the Vive Pre. There's really not much different with it, except for there was like some minor things with how the head strap, the original head strap, was mounted to the headset. Microphone's the same, lenses are the same. I even have those small pads on there to bring your face a little bit closer to the lenses. Hopefully you can see those there. And then we have the head strap that was the add-on head strap. And this head strap here for Vive pre-owners, we ended up having to get these little screws from Vive. They shipped them for free, so that way we could fit this on there. That was like the only difference. But yeah, this is the Vive. It's been our workhorse on this channel. We already know. 04G Dog, how you doing? We're actually testing out this Samsung ODYSSEY, and this Samsung ODYSSEY here, you can kind of see the size comparison there. For the most part, let me try to get it in the view there. For the most part, they're about the same size, but they are different in weight by a little bit. The ODYSSEY being a little bit lighter. Also, with this head strap and everything, this seems to be a more robust sort of feeling unit, whereas this one here reminds me of the PSVR. Not to say that it feels chintzy or cheap or anything like that. It's not as heavy duty feeling. But that's just my first impressions. I've been using it. I actually was up really late last night kind of testing it out. Downloading there's not really much to download driver wise. You plug it in, Windows 10 seems to recognize it, and it kind of just works. You need the most recent creator update and everything like that. As long as you've been staying with that, you're pretty much set to go. So yeah, the only thing I had to download was basically a driver for Steam VR for Windows Mixed Reality. And the neat thing is if I unplug one USB cable from my Windows Mixed Reality and plug in the other USB cable, I restart Steam VR, and it immediately detects whatever headset I'm using. It's kind of pretty easy to flip-flop. But another thing I noticed is for my Vive, I used a USB that's on the front of my case here without any issue, USB 3.0. A lot of people use USB 2.0. Didn't really have an issue. with the Samsung Odyssey, you're going to need a super speed, as they call it, or you're just going to need a really good USB 3.0 either on your motherboard or as a PCI Express add-on adapter. So I couldn't use my 3.0 on the front of my case. It worked, it turned on, but I was having these issues where it would turn on, turn off, turn on, and turn off. So I ended up having to go out and basically just reinstall it on the back of my motherboard. Through one of my, I have a, what is this? This is an Asus Prime X370 Pro motherboard, so it has a USB 3.0 port that says super speed next to it. I plugged it in there, never had another issue. I know a lot of people, they just buy the PCI Express cards, the add-on 3.0 cards, if they don't have any more USB 3.0s on the back of their motherboard. But yeah, that seemed to work for me, and now we're working fine there. Tracking seems to be pretty good. I use it on some VR titles and it seems to work pretty good. The biggest difference that was very apparent as soon as I put it on was the resolution and just how clear it seemed to have looked. But I didn't really do much as far as sim racing because I was exhausted last night. So we're going to jump into some Project Cars 2 because that's pretty much the most beautiful title we have at the moment as far as visuals. And we're just going to do a little racing there. Project Cars 2 is also very demanding, and one thing that I noticed was some titles that I was kind of messing with last night that if I don't have asynchronous reprojection on, was kind of giving me some spikes here and there, some laggingness. I didn't seem to have that with my Windows Mixed Reality, which is very strange because this is higher resolution. So I think the software almost felt similar to like the type of experience you get with the Oculus, just better. I knew it was doing some sort of reprojection, but it was hiding it very well, and it didn't seem to really cause me that many issues with it. As far as, you know, feeling the stuttering or the lagging, the reprojection seemed to work very good and very smooth. So I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to work with Project Cars 2, because on the Vive, I know there's certain situations we could jump into that on my Vive I had slight stuttering that wasn't really apparent on the stream so much, but I could feel it in my eyes and I could feel it in the rig. So let's see how this works here. Enough of the talking. We do have a review that's going to be coming out. I need a lot more time. I literally just got this package last night, so a lot more time to decide whether or not we're going to get rid of our Vive and just stay with our Odyssey, which judging by this screen, I think we might. It's going to be very close. I'm not sure what one we're going to stay with, but you know, we're not necessarily going to keep both headsets in the studio. It doesn't really make sense to do so. So let's load up Project Cars 2. But it's not to say that it's perfect by any means. There's some issues that I've kind of encountered here and there with some titles, as far as, you know, when you first turn it on, you kind of notice that the centering position is not perfectly in front of you all the time. Sometimes whatever button you use to recenter your head position on certain sims like flight sims or whatnot, I was messing with a little bit last night. You just have to tap that when you first enter the title, and it seems to work just fine then, but it doesn't necessarily hold your center position from where you were seated prior, like I always experience on my Vive. I don't know if that's because we just uploaded new software and we're just using a new headset. Maybe since last night to today, restarting the computer, things are going to be a little different. All right. Yep, fun pack, we know. We know. So right now in my headset, I could see the same menu, and it's actually really nice because I could read everything really clearly, and it looks really good. It's the best comparison I can make is if you're sitting really close to a 720p monitor, that's the normal Vive, and this would be like sitting very close to a 1080p monitor. That's like the biggest difference I could tell you. Especially for some older sim racers that have been in the game for a long time, may have, you know, used some 720p monitors back in the day. So yeah, another thing that is very apparent is the contrast and the dark levels because of the OLED panels in here. Black is black. It's like it's off. And there's one title called The Blue, and it's just a VR title. It's just an experience. And let's see what car we're gonna use. I think I'm gonna use this one here. And won't use Storm. We'll just keep it clear because we're gonna run at nighttime. Yep. So it's 9 p.m. and let's get a practice session going. Just something short, nothing too crazy. We could always end it if we need to. But yeah, like I was saying, we have that title, The Blue. It's just a VR experience. You're in the ocean, and there's one where you're kind of like inside of a skeleton of a whale, and you're looking at some fish that have that bioluminescence kind of swimming around you. But it starts off and it's pitch black, and you just have like an underwater flashlight, and if you turn that flashlight off, it's pitch black. Whereas the Vive, you saw the backlit panel. I think it's an LED or an LCD panel. I think it's an LCD panel. You kind of get that slight backlit panel, a little bit of ghosting because it's backlit. That's just purely, it is what it is at that point. So as soon as I jumped in here, everything looks good. Everything looks really good. It's raining on the practice session because that's just what I decided to do. It fits against my face pretty good. The bottom edge of it kind of lifts away a little bit, or it doesn't feel as snug as the top edge, but I don't have any light bleed. And the nose cup on the inside has these weird flaps to kind of prevent any sort of light bleed. But what it kind of does is pinch my nostrils down a little bit. And being that it's pinching my nostrils down, kind of is a little bit harder to breathe through my nose. It doesn't bother me too much, but you know, if that's something that bothers you, or you think may bother you, it may be an issue. Everything looks good, but as soon as we jumped in the title, I don't know if it was apparent at all. There is a brief second where it stutters as soon as you jump in the car. Everything seems to look really good. We don't have any super sampling on.
Find out for the painting curves in the wet. It'll be very slippery when you
I
come
can
to
read
track.
most things on the dash. Still, where it says tire temp and pressures and whatnot on the right there, I can't really read the text on the top where it says 22 and 21. That small text above, I can't really read that. I can see there's text there, but I can't really read it. Everything else looks pretty good, pretty clear. There's little text that comes up from when your crew chief talks to you. That I could read crystal clear. The map I can see crystal clear. It's not a humongous difference. If you were to measure it, but it's a big enough difference where it feels like there's no blur. This is kind of where I was hoping the Vive always was. Right above the gear the actual gear selection on my dash, I can see that it says gear. I could read that text. In my Vive, there was no chance that I could read that at all. We're not driving too great because I'm trying to look around. I could read that. The top center that says main light. The top right, it says reverse. I mean, I could see fire. And I could actually read the fire button, but the top left on the green, I can see fire. I can see that like radio there says Motorola. And these are all things I couldn't read in the Vive. All right, so let's actually start driving a little bit. So that way you get an idea of what I can and cannot see as far as clarity. Everything motion-wise seems to be working really good. We have beautiful rainy weather right now, and I'm not getting any stuttering. In Steam VR, we don't have asynchronous reprojection on. We don't have any reprojection on. I think it's just Windows software that's kind of handling that. Oh, we locked up the rear tires, shifting down the first gear. We normally use the AMG GTR and GT3 situations. Never really use the Audi, but I figured it'd be a nice change. It's still kind of hard to, especially Project Cars 2. I find it a little easier in iRacing. It's still kind of hard to read the braking signs. Let's pull over the side here. The brake signs, still kind of hard to read them while you're approaching them. You're not going to all of a sudden see them from half the track distance away. And so you can get an idea of where we're at here. Those purple signs ahead, I can't really distinguish the individual letters, and I can't really read what it says. I still have to go to about here before I can see it absolutely clearly that it says Intershed. Seems like I'm still pretty darn close, but it's still actually a big difference from the Vive. Now, if I increase my super sampling, I'm sure we could get that a little bit better. But it's kind of hard to really describe where it doesn't sound like I'm kind of downing it a little bit. Trying to be objective, but when you put on the headsets and you go back to back and you try them out, it feels like a pretty big difference. But overall, I mean, this experience here feels pretty good. Very smooth. I'm not really getting any frame stuttering at all. We got 23 cars on the track, not including myself. We're in the rain, and you know what? Let's jump out and we'll go straight into the race. I'm kind of curious. We have grid position on random, so let's skip the end, and hopefully it puts us like towards the bottom, so that way we get a good amount of cars ahead of us. And if you have, Tom B, hey, how you doing? If you have any questions about this headset, definitely let me know. So that way I can try to answer them for you. Oh, we're towards the front. Decent start there. We do have AI all the way up. We still have the windshield wipers going. Three wide in that first turn. The nighttime is gorgeous. Just see black levels. The contrast is really immersive, because it's not really that this headset's any, it doesn't feel like it's not as bright as the Vive. The Vive's known for being a really bright headset, very vibrant. It's definitely brighter than the Oculus, but this one here doesn't feel like it's any dimmer, but yet it still has better black levels, and that's the OLED panels, I believe, kind of doing their thing there. and yet still the reflections, it almost blinds you a little bit from my headlights on the back of the car head. So far we are, looks like 8th. Overcooked that turret, big time, God. Locked up the rear tires, downshifted to first. So now we're in the back of the pack. That's just me not being used to this car. We're only doing a 5-lap session here as we're testing this headset. The next one we're gonna do, we're gonna turn on the motion rig and see how it handles tracking while motion is going, which I'm really curious about, which kind of really worries me a little bit. Nothing has really given me any sort of reason to be worried about it, except for a few occasions where it said that it lost the space that we're in. So I had to restart the headset just through the software, just turn the software.
Driver ahead's got a 3-second lead now. Keep the pressure on, stay consistent, focus on the lap time, keep pushing, keep pushing.
And I think that was partly because we loaded up the software. I jumped into a few titles and I never restarted my computer. Sometimes you just really got to restart your computer, especially if you're loading up new hardware. To those cars up ahead right now, I can tell that there's some pixelation there in the distance as they're that far away as they were before. I wouldn't be able to really tell you what type of cars they were. I can tell you that there's cars there, and when they're hitting the brakes I can see that, but I couldn't really tell you exactly what brand or make car they were.
Fastest first section you've done so far. Great job.
It's an interesting look at what the Vive Pro is going to be offering, because it is the same panels that they're using in the Vive Pro. And I would say for the money of the Windows mixed reality headsets, the Samsung Odyssey especially, you know, I think I would rather pay this amount than the $800 for the headset alone. Because I feel this difference is worth the amount that I paid for this particular headset. But I don't think it's necessarily worth the 800 bucks. Although the headset itself looks awesome, looks really robust. The headphones look really nice. Sure, it's much more comfortable than this headset is. Probably much more ergonomic, but if your goal is simply resolution, this is definitely a compelling choice right now. The sky is pitch black. I can see the stars.
So far, great job.
That spin out really messed us up. We are not reeling in this AI that much at all. Went in that section, we're way too hot. Got one more lap.
Good lap. That's your fastest lap so far today.
Just so you can get an idea in case you're new and you're just doing a little bit of research on this headset, our system is we got a gigabyte aurous 1080 Ti aurous Extreme, I think. With an AMD Ryzen 1700 overclocked mildly, nothing crazy. 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. You know, nothing. The craziest part I have is probably the GPU. But in the world of VR, there's a lot of people that have 1080 Ti's. And I wouldn't say it's a necessity. But just so you can get an idea of where I'm coming from in my system. I am getting some fogging in the headset. Went at that too hot again. Alright. Well, that is all. Unfortunately, we're in last place, but you know, we're kind of focusing on a lot of different things. Let's see, let's skip the cooldown lap, return to race central. Let's see if we got any questions. Metalish and VR85, the Odyssey begins. It does. It does. It definitely does. Oh man, kind of reminds me of oh man. What's the name of that band? They have one of their key songs is called The Odyssey. Oh man. Metalician, hopefully you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like an older speed metal band. All right, so let's scroll back through some of these comments here and see what we got. What about the sound? So from the Vive, the add-on little headset here, I would say the sound is about the same. The headset, the actual headphones itself feel about the same. They're about the same size. They're comfortable. You don't really feel them pressing against your ears, which at first I was like, I need that pressure because it's probably not going to isolate the sound. But it sounds almost exactly the same. Bass level's the same. I listened to some music with it. Sounds really good. Decent bass response. Almost a flat sort of response level to it. Not necessarily like studio monitors or anything like that, but nothing that's really going to offend anybody. Gunshot sounded pretty cool when I was using it in especially Space Pirate Trainer, and I chose the actual handguns. Pretty good sound. So it just sounds pretty much to me very similar to the HTC Vive, the add-on head strap, their headphones. The only thing you have to do is when you have it on, sound-wise, is you see how the headphones are right now. It seems like they're pretty close. I do always have to pull them down and make sure they're just cupping or they're right over my ears. It's because the pressure is so light, it's almost easy to forget that they're not really on your ears. But as soon as you put them down and over your ears, the sound quality is so much better. Let's see. Is this a good invest, or may I have to wait for 2.0 Gen 2? I have no VR headset, but I'm looking for the first one to buy. Buy or wait, hard choice. Tom B. So far as the Windows mixed reality, I'm actually pretty impressed with it. There's been some issues here and there. I have a Vive, and I was all set to get the Vive Pro. I could afford the Vive Pro. I could buy many Vive Pros if I wanted to, but I don't think with what I needed, with what I wanted, that it's a purchase that's going to make sense for me. $800 right now US, $799 I should say. When my main goal is for my motion rig here, even though we didn't just have the motion on, for my motion rig to have higher resolution, to have better visuals. So the Samsung Odyssey and the HTC Vive Pros, they use the same screens. So it just didn't make sense to look past this. My main concern was the motion tracking, which it seems to be very good. You're going to have to make sure you always on your wheel map a button to reset the head position, because sometimes when you start a new title, not necessarily in the game, but when you start a new title, you just have to make sure you hit that button to get your menus back in front of you again. But when I'm playing, it seems to always hold that position, and the boundary. When I was playing VR titles like Space Pirate Trainer and I was turning around a lot last night, it seemed to always hold my boundary to where my boundary is. And you can see I have a lot of things in this room here. I have a drum set back there. I have some chairs. We have 2 desks here on either side. And it wasn't like as if the centering position was ever off. So it seemed to work really good. But it's not perfect. There's been a few times, like I said, since last night, that I, would go out, try the Vive, and then go back in, try this headset, and it would work, and then all of a sudden it would blank out and say that it lost my room scale. Do I want to reestablish room scale or just do a seated experience? So then I would shut Windows Mixed Reality software off, turn it back on, and it would work fine. I don't know if that's, like I said before, I don't know if that's because I didn't restart my computer, that I installed the software, got it going, and just went for it. Metalician VR 85, it is Symphony X. the Odyssey. One of my favorite songs. I just remembered. I don't know if you're still in the chat or not. Symphony X, one of my favorite bands. So, Mr. Eddie 22, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you want to stay with the Vive, it's well known that the Vive has better tracking. All in all, it has better tracking. One thing that I did last night when I was in Space Pirate Trainer, I took the headset while I was wearing it, and I took the controller here, and let's change this view here. I took the controller and I put it down on the floor, and it tracked it all the way to the floor, and it was tracking to the floor correctly. When you first set it up, it makes you track and set your floor position, which is cool. It worked well. And then I took the headset while I was wearing it, and I went face down to the floor, and it tracked all the way to the floor. When I sat up, it took for a second, like it tracked, there's a gyroscope internally. It tracked that my head was tilting up, but it didn't track that I was sitting up away from the floor or standing up for like a brief second. Then it snapped to that I was in standing position. So that took just a brief moment. I don't know if that was just, like I said, because at the time I didn't restart my computer. I have more testing to do for the full review that's going to be coming. Let's see. Metallician says he agrees, too much money, but he had to order one because of the higher resolution. And that's completely understandable. Just for me, it didn't make sense for what I was looking for. But I'm sure the headphones on the Vive Pro, I can't say definitely, but they look like they're going to be better. I compare the Samsung Odyssey headphones almost exactly to the Vive head strap, the add-on head strap headphones. They almost sound exactly the same. I do like how on the you see these here, you can't snap them away. On the Vive, you can snap them away whenever you're just trying to listen to somebody. Just kind of snap them up. What'd you say? You know, you can snap them back against your head. You don't have that on here. You can slide these up and down a little bit. These are almost a little bit more rigid, a little less movement than you get with the Vive add-on head strap. But overall, the sound quality is about the same. I think that Vive Pro is going to have much better audio quality, at least because they're really pushing that those headphones are something that are going to be special. So, you know, they can't make them sound exactly like their existing add-on head strap. That would be kind of ridiculous. Let's see. Our mouse is stuck in the game. So, Tom B, he's got a 1080 EVGA, but he wants 1080 Ti. But because of the crypto miners, the price is always higher and higher. Yeah, I would wait. I would definitely wait. And the 1080 is not a bad card at all. The 1080 is an awesome card. I wouldn't necessarily... I wouldn't put down your card. I'm sure you could... the experience is probably going to be very similar. Tommy, triple monitors. I used to have triple monitors. If you look at some of my older videos when I first started this channel, that's all we ever used was triple monitors. And we were kind of hacking together VR headsets with cell phones and USB cables at the time. All in all, triple monitors are going to look clearer. You're going to be able to see in the distance better, but you're not going to have the same presence that you have with the headset. But with triple monitors, even though some triple monitor setups can be much more expensive than a VR headset, with triple monitors, I still left races sweating, with my heart beating, exhausted from just being in such an intense setup. The HTC straps looks much more robust. It feels much more robust, but this headset's a lot lighter. So I don't feel like this is going to break at all. This feels much more like almost like an industrial system. And that Vive Pro head strap looks crazy, which they are kind of aiming it at pros, at professional sort of work environments. The one thing that I do got to say, though, is they feel equally as comfortable to me. And I don't really feel like we're ever going to break this. It doesn't feel cheap. It just feels lighter. It feels, you know, better driving. I feel like, depending on what situation you go into, triple monitors or VR, you're going to adapt to that. So overall, I feel like I could do, especially like Dirt Rally, better in VR. But when I had my triple screens, I was killing it. I mean, I'm no pro driver, but in Dirt Rally, I was doing good. And once I went to VR, I adapted to VR, and it's hard to race on screens now for me. But whatever you go to, you're going to adapt just fine. But I feel like VR is much more of an immersive experience, and obviously that's what we're going for here. So let's jump into another race session. Let's see. For some reason, our mouse is like locked away somewhere. Oh, there we go. Got it. Go back to this view here, and let's see what we're gonna do. Let's do custom race. No. We'll do like an old school DTM race, and we'll do it at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. We'll do it in the middle of the day. Do it at like 1 p.m. there. And just keep everything. Well, you know what? Let's do a little bit of light rain. No, stop. I don't know why I keep hitting that. A little bit of light rain because it's harder on the system. And there we go. And we have everything set to random as far as our positioning and whatnot. Go for DTM 92 bronze. Oh, bro. Let's see how this works out. The one major thing that I don't like with this headset is that nose cup. It's very good at not letting any sort of light bleed in, but it really just like squishes my nostrils in. We got free practice going on right now. See, I could read that AMG and I could see all the numbers clearly. Can see FL 9.6 on that digital display there. The other thing is, if you look at most of our other streams, we always had a first-person view going through the Vive. I wonder if there's a way to do that with this here. Not really too sure if we can access these front cameras to try to get a first-person view. Oh, let's turn on our motion. That's one thing we did not do. There we go. All right, we got how many frames per second in sim racing games? It feels like I'm getting 90. When I was in iRacing, and I've been watching the frame timing's been good. In iRacing, the Nordschleife, I have it, you know, the settings on high with this card, and there's one section of the track where you're entering basically the first turn, and you can see that there's like grandstands off in the distance, blue grandstands, and I've always had very severe stuttering there. It would go into rear projected 45 with this headset, but it would feel more like the Oculus where it was a very smooth transition, or pretty smooth.
So take it easy, watch out for the spray, go nice and smooth.
And, but that's pretty much it. For the rest of the track, it would just seem to stay at 90 frames per second, and felt good, felt good. See those markers, 3, 2, 1. I'm just surprised that I'm not having that degradation of performance that I was expecting. With the higher resolution. I think it's obviously some sort of reprojection, even though, like I said earlier, Steam VR doesn't have any reprojection on right now. I think it's through Windows software that they're doing it. So far with the motion, it seems to be holding center pretty well. Way too hot in the rain there. Couldn't stop fast enough. Open practice session, so I'm just trying to push the limits a little bit. See what we can and can't do in the wet here. Didn't like that much. Come on! You can see that that's his previous lap on the top. If you know anything about live streaming is kind of very intensive on this system. You normally don't get anywhere near the same frame rates that you normally would. And everything feels pretty smooth right now while we're live streaming. We're actually using Restream, and we're both streaming to Twitch and YouTube, so depending on where you're watching us, we're actually streaming to 2 platforms. Not that that would really have an effect on my system. That's going to Restream, and Restream is kind of handling that split. Got a little bit of stuttering right there. Wasn't too major, but it was there. Feels acceptable. Doesn't feel like it would cause any nausea or anything. Just one thing is, you can't really go into this headset and expect to see everything crystal clear. It's harder to see the pixels, it definitely is, and in the distance, and not glaring in your face like they normally are with the Vive. It's a lot better. And I think it's worth the upgrade, either this or the Vive Pro, because really it's all about the resolution that we're experiencing at the moment. But you know, don't expect to all of a sudden not see the screen door effect, because I can see it. It's just, it's very slight, but it's there. I can see it. Oh, we're running out of fuel. Where's our pit crew? Oh, I didn't. That's right, I didn't really call that we were gonna go in the pits. Oh well. You see all the different views here. Everything looks good. All right, let's go to return the pit box. What is that noise? Hold on 1 second. That's actually my TV. How strange. Sorry if that was going on for a long time. I don't know why that audio came out of my TV. I'm actually using a DisplayPort adapter for the television. When did that start? Hopefully that didn't start a long time ago. Yeah, my IPD is actually 65 millimeters. So I do have to kind of adjust these out a little bit. The Lenovo Explorer, no, I have not. Zombie, I apologize. That was actually my television, which we're using back here. For some reason was making that weird noise. But thank you everyone for letting me know that that was happening. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully that wasn't happening for a long time. But that goes to show, I mean, I didn't hear it until we got out of the car, because because the headset was actually, I didn't hear it. How long was that going on for? Obviously it was going on for about 5 minutes at least. So strange. I don't know why that would happen. See, I thought we actually set this to be on daytime. Thought we set it for 1 p.m. 1300. I don't know why it's nighttime out, but it apparently is. And it looks like we're going to be starting 14th out of 23. So just 5 quick laps. I'll turn the motion off, I guess. Little bit of bumpy video there, but yeah, that's how motion is, unfortunately. But for this one here, obviously we see that the motion is not affecting it at all as far as tracking goes. All right, there we go. Whoa, what the heck? Why did that actually happen? I had the clutch down, but yet it didn't like register that we were actually hitting the clutch. And now for some reason the start menu button isn't working. There we go. Let's restart that session. Actually, you know what? Let's go to options and see why my clutch did not work there. Let's see. Very strange. Very, very strange. We might just have to roll with it. I'm not exactly sure. Go to gameplay. We have everything off. We have everything on off. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. There's no driver assist, but we'll just roll with it. Bumpy is good in the old DTM Mercedes. Okay, then I'll turn the motion back on. I thought you meant I was losing you, as in, because some people watching motion videos kind of get a little motion sick from watching and they can't really watch it. I think Race from Racing Experience is probably one of the best for DTM style racing. I think they have it down. I love their DTM cars of this era, the 92s. Little bumps, little love bumps.
You're up to P8. Come on, mate. Keep going. Catch 7.
Try and take the outside line. Keep pressure. Wasn't gonna happen. I really didn't have to downshift there. There we go. There we go.
Take him. Don't take too many risks, but try squeezing past when you can.
I already passed him.
Posted the fastest first sector time.
Think that's a Cosworth. You just got me a little bit.
2 times so far today. Great stuff.
It's got me a little bit in the power department. Felt like I was faster than him, but he just started pulling away from us a little bit. Oh! Lost the rear end there. Sorry. Overcooked it. Way overcooked it. Gotta calm down. Come on, what's going on? Now that it's drying up a little bit, this AI, it's starting to...
Sector 2 times so far today, mate. Great job.
It's starting to really push me.
You're still there. Good job. Keep pushing.
Really?
Just one
How?
more lap to go. Keep on it.
Keep going off the track there. Keep over braking. I'm trying to brake when the AI does, but at the same time, I'm handling more speed at that point in time, so I'm just overdriving the car. So that's it. Not the greatest. We started making some mistakes about halfway through this session and later. But overall it was fun. I mean, not horrible. We finished 11th out of 24. Picked up a few positions. I think if we were consistent, probably could have done a lot better. But overall, with all the motion from the rig, you can see still holding true straight position. Did good. Be interesting to see once we get our third degrees of freedom installed on this rig, once we get it here from Prosimu, and that we can start getting the rear of the rig kicking out. Not sure what pit stall is going to be mine. I have no idea. Obviously, this isn't ours, but we're going to stop here. Let's see, where is my pause button and how come my pause button isn't working? This is an issue sometimes, it has nothing to do with the headset. It's just, this sometimes happens with the rig itself. Yeah, pit box occupied. I'm aware. We'll just hit the exit button. Go out the normal way. Woo! There we go. What a sound. Hopefully you don't mean that that sound has come back, because it doesn't look like it has. Ooh. So, you know, overall, I do gotta say, we're gonna exit this here. We're gonna exit this title. Let's actually get this. I'm gonna kick that out. There we go. So I'm pretty sweaty, and I'm just as sweaty as I normally be with my Vive. Another thing I noticed is the headset itself, the lenses tend to fog up pretty easily. And this is that nose cup design here that I was talking about. Your nose goes in here. And when your nose goes in there, those two flaps kind of go on either side of the bridge of your nose. Well, for me, for the eye position to be in the center of that lens, the bottom edges here kind of go over my nostrils, and it kind of presses my nostrils in. And also I experience a little bit of fogging of the lenses, which, you know, is kind of what you're going to experience with all of them. But it'll be interesting to see how we review this. There's a lot more things I have to do with it, a lot more titles. We have to do an iRacing race, like a full iRacing race, and I want to make sure there's no loss of tracking or anything like that. I do got to say also that this is not immune to the driver issues with NVIDIA cards. So if you're a VR user, you are aware, both Oculus and Vive, that there's some drivers that work better than others. And I did update to the newest driver just to see, and it worked fine. But in Dirt Rally and in some parts of iRacing, I noticed some stuttering that wasn't there before. When I was just doing some quick, in and out testing. I didn't actually drive. I just did in and out testing last night just to see how everything was. And when I completely uninstalled the graphics driver and reinstalled an older one, I think it's 388.59, I think. That's when all the stuttering went away. And it's well documented on Reddit and on other publications, on, I think also, I'm not going to just start, spitting out names if I don't know definitely. But if you search it, best NVIDIA driver for VR, there's many publications out there, and there's many Reddit threads on it, where people are saying that they have better experiences with some drivers rather than others. So I had to go back to 388.59. I think that's what it is. And that relieved us of all that stuttering that we were having beforehand, and seems to be a much more smooth experience. You do lose out on some of the newer features whenever NVIDIA updates, but so far we haven't really had any resolution with that. And that goes for all the different headsets, Oculus, Vive. Some people with Oculus don't seem to have many issues, but it all depends on where they're also loading the game from. Are they loading it from Steam VR or whatnot? It seems to be based on Steam VR. But overall, I would say I'm really liking this headset. I'm very impressed with it. It's very compelling right now. It's looking pretty good. So definitely stay tuned for that review. You're going to probably see this headset quite a few more times before the review comes out. Because I just, I want to make sure that we give it enough time in case things are going to, sprout up. Any issues are going to sprout up. I want to make sure that we definitely give it enough time for problems to happen. I'm not saying this is going to take months, but let me just put it through its paces. So yeah, we definitely have to get some iRacing races in. We're going to be starting the new season in iRacing. We just got we just went up in our license in Dirt Road. And we're going to do a lot more Dirt Rally, race from racing experience. But overall, everything that I've done with my Vive, this Samsung Odyssey seems to be able to handle. I haven't been in any titles that I've normally played with my Vive that haven't loaded up correctly in the headset. So it's pretty exciting, pretty fun so far. Tom B says the Odyssey is not available in EU. Really, that's surprising. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully, maybe you can pick one up on eBay and have it sent to you, or hopefully eventually it's released. It probably has something to do with just the way that they're not really selling that well right now. At least I don't think that they're selling that well. You don't really hear a lot of people talking about them, which is strange because the Samsung Odyssey has the same screens as the Vive Pro. You'd think that there would be a lot more push, but I kind of had to do my own research to find out that information myself. which ended up pushing me towards this headset. Let's see, let's scroll down a little bit in the comments, make sure. So everyone, yeah, Tom B says no, it's not. Maybe eBay, yeah. But this is where I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed this first look on this headset. It's definitely got me questioning the continued future of my Vive and whether or not we're going to keep it. Especially being that we don't really do many room scale things, although this Odyssey seems to be able to handle it just fine. But yeah, stay tuned for that full review. Stay tuned for a lot more live streaming, because as we're putting it through its paces, we're going to be mostly doing it live, so that way if there's any issues or any problems, we got it covered live. Also, hit that reminder bell, because our live streams happen at random times. And also we have, like I was just mentioning a little while ago, we have our Third Degrees of Freedom motion platform coming from Prosimu for this rig here. So that way, once we get a little tail happy, you'll actually, we're going to experience that in real time on the rig. And I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to be handled in the motion tracking. I don't think there's going to be any issues, because you can see here we didn't have any issues with this motion at all. But once we start throwing another axis in there, let's see if it actually starts, losing tracking or not. But I'm Crash, this is RTA Motorsports, or if you're watching us on Twitch, this is Crash Hawk Gaming. Definitely subscribe to us on YouTube or subscribe to us on Twitch. And again, hit those reminder bells on YouTube, so that way you can see when we're streaming, because it's pretty much all random. Also, you could reach us on Twitter. We got the Twitter handle in our description below, so definitely check that out. And as usual, see you all next time. Thank you so much for joining in.